Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Aisha, and I welcome you. Thank you for joining in, and I welcome you all on behalf of Octara for this, 1 hour webinar by Dr. Frank Peter, who will let us know about the 3 essential strategies about social media marketing today. A bit about Frank. Frank has been doing international trainings for over past 15 years in the large international conferences and corporate events in Asia, Europe, Middle East, and North America. His expertise is mainly on the topic of digital, which includes corporate digital transformation, digital marketing best practices, online, online advertising, and web analytics. And he's also a certified Google educator. We are very pleased to have him on board today. And I wish you all a great webinar, and please stay tuned till the end of the webinar to know more about our online trainings. Welcome, Frank, and over to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm the one in the screen highlighted now. My screen is full here. Just let me share my screen. Okay, here we are. So welcome everybody. My name is Frank. It's been a real pleasure to welcome you here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about 3 strategies to ace social media marketing. Now I've been doing social media marketing or digital marketing per se for quite some time. So today I'm going to share with you just a few snippets of something that is current, something that might be of interest to you, and something that hopefully works for you in your own social media marketing efforts. A little bit about me before I get started. Aisha, can you let people in from the meeting room?
Yeah, I'm letting them in. You carry on with the session.
Okay, as I can see here. So I'm afraid you also can see this. Anyway, yeah. So let's just try this. So my name is Frank, as I already said. I don't want to talk too much about me. Actually, let me go back a little. So I don't want to talk too much about me, but I do have a slide a little bit to introduce myself. To know more about me and to get in touch with me, the easiest way to do this is through my website. You can see that below, drfrankpeter.com. And the other one is through LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn as a social media. I'm going to reference back to this a little bit later and a bit more. So if you're on LinkedIn and we have not yet linked up, please connect with me on that platform. Just look for my name, Dr. Frank Peter, so you don't have to remember that whole stretch there. I don't want to say too much, but a little bit just to for introductory purposes. So I do work with Google quite closely, both the local area. So I'm German, I should say that. I'm from Germany, but I've been living in Southeast Asia for many years. Currently, I live in Malaysia, beautiful Malaysia. I love every bit of it. It's tropical, it's nice and warm. The occasional rain shower that we get nowadays. That's the only thing that's a bit tough, but other than that, it's a beautiful place to be. I've been here for over 10 years now, and I work with the local office here, the Google Malaysia office, but also the regional office, which is in Singapore, for our area at least. So I do work with Google, but I don't work for Google, just to point that out. So I don't get paid by Google, but I do get the occasional Google swag. So I do get a coffee mug or a pen, stuff like that. I'm certified at a couple of countries. So HRDF is the trainer certification program here in Malaysia. SIM, Singapore Institute of Management, that is the certification body in Singapore. So I'm certified by both of them. A couple of other things here and there. I don't want to go too much into it. I do work quite closely with academia, something that I enjoy very much. So I'm an associate faculty with one of the local universities here, the University of Octara, Malaysia, Uthman Yop Abdullah Graduate Business School, kind of mouthful. And I'm an industry advisor for another local university here, international university. Not too much about me. If you want to learn a bit more about me, so you can, as I said earlier, you can check out my website and my, which contains my blog. and my LinkedIn channel, but you can also check out some of my previous presentations. So this is one from TED. So I have a couple of talks on the TED channel. So if you're bored and got nothing to do, you can go to the TED channel on the official TED channel on what is it, YouTube, and just search for my name there as well. But enough about me. I'm starting to blush. What I would like to see is now, where are you from? So just to see where you are from, there is a chat function that you can have here in the, so if you click on this, then you can have in the chat, let's see if I can open it here for me. I cannot. So in the chat now, please write down where you are from. I'm kind of curious. So I'm originally from Germany, as I said, but I live in Malaysia. I've seen on the registrations itself that there were a number of people, obviously from Pakistan. That is expected because now Octara is from as a Pakistan training company. So most of the participants will be from Pakistan. But I've seen a few from Malaysia as well that I remember. I've seen some from Mexico. I've seen some from Spain. I've seen one entry from at least from Nigeria. Not sure if that gentleman is here. So I'm just curious now if you could write in the chat where you are from, just for everybody to see. Most people from Pakistan, I can see. Oh, welcome. Oh, someone from Malaysia. Okay. Shout out to you, to Rofida. Oh, Dubai. Oh, JJ. Okay. So Jamil Janjua is the director of Octara, the CEO, the boss of Octara, the big boss, and he's currently in Dubai. I guess mushroom there because travel is not really happening here. All right, thanks very much. Just keep it coming. I'm still like to read this because we can look at this afterwards as well. Okay, I've been to Pakistan quite a number of times. This is just proof that I was. And one of the nicest things, well, of course, I'm there for training purposes, but the one I really enjoy is the food there. And you can see on the left-hand side, proof that I was at Barbecue Tonight in Karachi, which I very much enjoyed on the rooftop terrace. And on the right, you can see, well, on the right is an Octara employee. He was my handler there and his friend. And they took me in Islamabad to a nice restaurant on top of the hill where you could have a beautiful view with really great food. So really enjoyed that. But of course, it's not all play. There was a bit of work as well, and I'll show a couple of pictures of that in a second. So to get this moving, let's talk a bit about social media. Now, social media is about sociology and psychology more than it is about technology. That really brings it down. Social media is, as the name implies, about social. Social always refers to human interaction. So by right, it is never between a potential prospect or an individual and the company or the firm or the business or admin or anything else. It's always a one-on-one conversation, preferably, that is where an individual represents a company. If you're your own, then you would be your own personal brand that you represent, obviously. So let's talk about the strategies that I think that are important, either be it for a company or for yourself, for your own personal brand, whether it's representing a company or whether you have any other intentions on social media. So just some things for you to think about. Okay, the first one I want you to be clear about when it comes to social media. What is your goal on social media? And what is it that you're trying to achieve? And that is very often, especially when it comes to marketing, that's very often a question that companies can't answer. I do a lot of training, I do a lot of consulting, and my first question is now, why are you on social media? Why do you have a website? Why do you send out, let's say, email newsletters? What is the purpose of all of that? So here we focus on social media. So my question to you is now, why are you on social media? If it's just not to post stuff, or to dabble around, then that is not really a strategy. If you do this on a company, on a company's behalf, or for your own personal branding, then you have to have a goal that comes with it. Let me give you myself as an example, because that's the example I know best. I'm active on social media, and the purpose for me is I want to create leads out of my social media connections. So what I do for a living is I do corporate training, as Aisha pointed out, and I speak at conferences. Normally, it's in front of an actual live audience. Nowadays, it's all in front of a camera, which is a bit more difficult. But so that's what I do for a living. That's what, for me, puts food on the table. Now, my goal on social media, in particular on LinkedIn, that's where I'm mostly active, is to post stuff that will get me either more training gigs or more speaking gigs. That is my goal. That is what I'm on social media for. You could be on social media for a different purpose. Maybe it is to get a job if you're an individual, maybe you're looking for a new one. Maybe you're on social media to, I don't know, promote a product or to promote your company or whatever it might be. But you have to be clear what that goal is. Yeah, so the goal for me is I want to get more speaking gigs and I want to get more training engagements. That is my goal. And I want you to also be clear about what your goal is. There is a reason for it. I'm gonna get to this in a second, so please bear with me. So once you have a certain goal, then you gotta work towards that. That is through building authority, building credibility, and building trust. That is done through content. I will talk about content in a second. So whenever you post content, that content has to have a direct route towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. I want to let this stand for a second. I'll go to the second point, but it will fall into place. Just bear with me for a moment. Having just fans and other things is just vanity. I like this. Just remember, fans are vanity and sales are sanity. So if your goal is, I want to get more fans, then this is not a business goal or an achievable goal that brings you any benefit out of this. So like getting more sales, getting more leads, or any other benefit that might come out of it, maybe a new job and whatever. So what counts are real outcomes, and those are the goals that you need to fulfill. The second part that is important for you to think about is, who do you need to reach? And in particular, who do you need to reach who will help you to fulfill your goal? That might become a bit clearer now. My goal is to get more training engagements and more speaking gigs. Yeah. So who on LinkedIn or any social media platform for that matter, who can help me to get more speaking gigs and more training engagements? For speaking gigs, the people who could help me would be conference organizers, for example. The people who get me training gigs for corporate training would be, let's say, learning and development managers in companies or HR personnel in particular. Those are the two personas, the two groups of people that I need to reach with my content, with my message. Anybody else who is not able to get me to my goal is not that important to me. The people who can get me to my goal, those will be the people who can help me to make money, to earn money. Same thing, if your goal is to find a job, for example, through, let's say, LinkedIn or any other platform, let's say LinkedIn, then you got to think about now, who is it who will be able to help you find a job? Who do you need to reach? Do you need to reach, I don't know, line managers for a particular company? Do you need to reach HR people for a particular company? That's something you have to find out. But it is important later on when it comes to building content that you know what kind of content you have to make so you can target those people who will in turn help you to fulfill your goal. So reaching people will be, those are called personas. Reaching those people will be the ones who will help you to get closer to your goal. So it's important to have a good connection with them. That's the building rapport part. So you have to get known first of all by people who will help you to fulfill your goal, and you have to build an emotional connection with those. Now, what I say below, don't bother about anybody else. So I give you an example for this. I have trainer colleagues who nudge me once in a while saying that my content is of no importance to them. It is always so biased towards, let's say, L&D managers and HR managers. And my response to that is true, because you will never hire me. I will never make any money from another trainer. Yeah. So I'll be very focused with the content I put out. Let's look at the third one. Okay, social media is about the people. It's not about business. Provide for the people, and the people will provide you. So this, you have to build connections first, specifically with people who can help you. Let's look at the third part, and I will combine it in a second in a way that it makes it a bit more obvious. What do you need to give? So again, you got to focus on those people who will help you to reach your goal. What do you need to give them in return? That is content that is of value to them. So you have to provide content to them. In my case, I have to provide content that pleases not only L&D managers, depends on what I want, or it may also have to please, let's say, conference organizers, depending on which area I'm currently going into. If my content is not valuable to anybody else, then that is not really important to me, because other people will not give me any jobs in training or in conference speaking. So that puts it very focused. So I always have my goal in mind. So let me give you an example. So let's say, hypothetically, I'm out, I'm playing with my cat, and I shoot a video of me playing with my cat. And it's the cutest video ever of me playing. So my finger is very itchy. I want to post this on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I want to post because the video is just so damn cute. And I ask myself two questions before I post it. I ask myself, if I post this video, if I post this piece of content, will it help me to reach my goal? And the answer probably is no, because I don't think with my cat video, I can impress. I'm going to get more teaching engagements or training engagements, and I don't think I'm going to get more speaking engagement either. The second question I asked before I post it, will it impress the people who can help me to reach my goal? So in my case, would be training managers or conference organizers. Will they be impressed with me playing with my cute cat? And the answer is probably also no. So then I don't post, simple as that. On the other hand, now let's say, and you will see a couple of examples later, I give training for Octara. So I go to Pakistan, I go to Islamabad, and we take a group picture afterwards. Or somebody in the audience takes a picture of me and me in action in front of that audience, in, let's say, in Karachi. And I get that picture later. Should I post that picture on my timeline? So I ask myself the same questions. Now I have a picture of myself doing that training in front of a live audience in, let's say, in Karachi. Should I post this on LinkedIn? First question, will this picture help me to reach my goal? The picture shows what I'm doing. It is kind of proof that I really do stand in front of an audience and conduct this kind of training. So I would say it would help me to reach my goal. The second question is, will it impress, let's say, I would say impress, but will it make an impression on learning and development managers, or will it make an impression on conference organizers? And again, if they see this picture, they will then, it's kind of a validation. Or Frank says he is a conference speaker, Frank says he's a corporate trainer. He is actually visual proof that he does this kind of stuff. So yes, I think it will also help. So now I have yes on both, and I will post that picture. Yeah. That is the thought process I go through every time I post a piece of content. that is something I want you to also consider. That's why I said earlier, make sure you are very clear about why you are on social media. Why are you on Facebook? Why are you on LinkedIn? What is your goal of being there? If you just want to post nice stuff, that is perfectly fine. Maybe on Facebook. On Facebook, I sometimes also show what I had for breakfast, but not very often. I really use social media for marketing purposes. In my case, it's a personal branding thing, but I'd also do it for the company that I work with or work for. Um, but in most cases, it's really about what I do based on building my personal brand. So showing what I have for breakfast, showing where I went on holiday, posting any rants that I have about whatever political developments or anything else is not going to help my personal brand. It's not going to help me to get either more gigs for training or more gigs for speaking. It's also not going to impress learning and development managers or any other person or persona that I need to reach, who will then in turn hopefully hire me. So the important part when it comes to posting or before you post is to be clear about what are you trying to achieve and who's going to help you on that journey. That will be your marketing personas. So those are the ones you have to create content for. That content that you create for your persona has to be of value to your persona. Yeah, you got to be. The other thing is, no, you have to be human. I mentioned this early in the presentation here. Social media is all about human to human interaction. It is never about you and the firm or something like that. And you got to be authentic. So if you fake it, if you fake something, people will call you out very, very quickly because it's not going to last. I'm going to have a quick interruption here where I stop the share and I want to ask you a question. Now, I mentioned you got to share something that is of value. But the question is, how often should you share stuff? How often should you post stuff on social media? And for that, I actually have a little poll. So you should be able to see a poll here coming up for you that asks how often should you post on social media? And the questions are 3 times a day, once a day, 2 or 3 times a week, once a week, 2 to 3 times a month, or once a lifetime. Of course, it's a joke. So a bit more than once a lifetime. I just want you to feedback. It's an anonymous poll. So it's not going to be part of the evaluation in the end. It's not going to be part of the exam either. Just want to get an idea. So currently 2 to 3 times a week is trending. Just let this run for a few more seconds. Remember, the thing I mentioned is you got to post something of value to your personas. The idea really is to post stuff directed at your personas that will help you to establish both authority and credibility in the eyes of people who are important in order for them to be able to help you to reach a particular goal that you have. So we're gone a minute. I'm going to stop it or end it and make it live so you can all see that. So I don't know, you should be able to see this. So it's 15% say 3 times a day, then 23% once a day. The majority is 41% 2 to 3 times a week. Once a week, so I mixed that up, 3 times a month and whatever. Nobody wants in their lifetime. So that's cool. So the actual answer to that question is, it's actually none of the above. I didn't give that as an example, but it's none of the above. And the reason is that it is not important how often you post. See, I get this quite often when I give corporate training. The marketing department says, oh, the boss came to us and says, no, you have to post now in the morning, and lunchtime, and in the evening. And it's so difficult. And it is difficult because if you post 3 times a day, for example, or once a day, you have to post valuable stuff. If you put so much pressure onto yourself that you have to post so frequently, then you run the risk that you will post stuff that is shallow. The moment you post shallow content, it is actually counterproductive. Yeah. If you just know that as I say here in Malaysia, that I must post. So if you post by all means, you have to post, then the content that comes out is of not enough benefit to your personas. that will undermine your level of credibility. So the actual answer to that question is how often should you post is once you have valuable content, then you post. If there's a few days where you don't have the time or you don't know what to post or whatever, where you don't have anything that is of preferably high value to your personas, then you simply don't post. If you can generate great content in whatever, 2 or 3 times a day, then by all means go for it. Post 2 or 3 times a day. Now, plenty of research has been conducted on this. And if you don't have stuff to share, then it's fine if you don't share your own for, let's say, 2 weeks. If people don't hear from you for a period of 2 weeks, they still don't forget you. It is better to be quiet rather than posting nonsense or shallow stuff as a take home. Okay. Alternatively, now, if you have nothing much to share on your own, then you can always curate somebody else's content. So if you find an interesting newspaper article, for example, or you come across an interesting blog post or something like that, then by all means go and share that. But again, so I do this as well. Again, I ask myself the same question as I did for my own content. If I share, let's say, a newspaper clipping or something else I read that I find very interesting, if I share this with others, if I curate this content, if I share this on my timeline, does it help me with my own goal? Does it impress? Does it help my personas, the ones that will help me to fulfill my goal? If the answer is no to any of those, I will not share that curated content. So I'm a bit selfish on that as well. I don't just share for the heck of it. I share again for a purpose. And that purpose is I want to get more training engagements and I want to speak at more conferences so I can put food on my table. Yeah. So if you run out of your own content, curated content is fine, not all the time. So once in a while. But again, if you curate content, always have your audience in mind and always have your goal in mind as well. That's how often should you curate? So curated content means you post somebody else's stuff. Don't do it all the time. A rough rule of thumb is 80% curated content, 20% your own. You shouldn't go below that in terms of your own content. I know some people who only post stuff that they read someplace else, which is very nice of them, but it is not very helpful. So I can't really tell whether the person who does that, whether they're actually knowledgeable, whether they're an authority in what they do, and whether they have any credibility at all, because all they do is share stuff. That makes it very nice, but credibility might not be helpful there. Okay, back to my slides. I'm gonna share that again. So that is the content part. I hope it all boils a bit together with this. Now, another example I want to give you that hopefully also helps you to understand why it is important to look at not only the goal, but also the personas. So, hypothetical example. Let's say you are a university. And so because I work a lot with universities, I use this example quite frequently. So, you're a university, marketing department for a university, whatever. And your goal is you have to market a bachelor program in, let's say, in marketing. So that is your product. Your goal is to sell as many bachelor programs in marketing for your university. That is what you're trying to achieve. So it's a very clear-cut, very measurable goal. So then the question is, who do you need to reach? And some people say it's not the person that you need to reach who signs the check in the end. You need to reach the person who is the first point of contact. Yeah. Same is true when you run your business. So recently I did training for a company that makes electronic equipment, really fancy stuff. So they have business customers only. It's a B2B company. So who do they need to try to reach? It's not the CEO who eventually writes the check or the CFO who writes the check. They need to reach. They need to reach the procurement officer whose job it is to source for that particular product. So for you also, you have to be clear who you need to reach. So for that university example again, who does the university need to reach? What's the first point of contact? It could be either the kid, the high school leaver who is looking for a place to study, or it could be the parent on the other side. So either one will do. So I speak with a lot of universities, I mentioned it, and no, from their feedback, it is about 50-50. So 50% of the time, the inquiries come from students, or prospective students, I should say, and 50% of the time, it's the parents who make the inquiries. So I went through this recently. My daughter is in university now, so she went out and looked for the university she would like to go for. In other families, it's the parents who try to figure this out and then talk to the kid uh, and come to some sort of a conclusion. So that means you have one product, but you have two different personas for it. So now the university wants to, let's say, attract the prospective student, so the high school leaver, young kids, 18, 19, 20 years old. And the university thinks about, oh, okay, I should tell that kid how great our program is. Now it's accredited by this agency. You know, we have a 95% employment rate after that. And our curriculum is structured this and this and this and that. If you were to show this to my daughter, who would be looking for a place to study, her eyes would roll back and she would say, not interested. The youngsters, the prospective students, they're not interested in accreditation, all this stuff. They're interested in, am I going to have fun when I go to university? Will I meet new people? What are the extracurricular activities that I can join? So it's more about the fun part. So if you, once you know that, then you can create content accordingly. Now, if you want to reach the parents, let's say you want to reach me as a parent, as a university, and you tell me as a parent, now send your daughter to us, she's going to have a lot of fun. I would say, cool. I want my daughter to have fun, but it's not that important. To me, it's more important, is a program accredited? Means, is she going to get a job afterwards? That is an important part. Is campus life, is it safe for my daughter? Or is there a risk of whatever, abduction or harassment or anything else? Now, what's the infrastructure that's in place? And all these things. So that's more important to me, the safety. So you can see that you have one product, but you have two different personas who have different needs and requirements. Then you create content based on those requirements. So let's say for my daughter, you would create a content, how fun it is. So you would write a 2,500 word essay of how fun it is on campus. And it would not be read. As you can imagine, anything that is more than 4 words, the answer or the question will be, do you have a video for that? So it's, although you have the content, the fun part, it has to be packaged in a way that the persona will consume it. Yeah. So packaging a video would be good. Now, how fun it is on campus, make a series of short videos. Now, on the other hand, me as a parent, for example, if you show me a video of the accreditation and whatever the employment rate and the safety features and whatever, I don't think I would consume it. It's too much, too long. I would like to see a bullet point list. Now we have this in place and this and this and this and this. And our employment rate is whatever, 97.3% and so on and so on. That I would consume, that I would be happy with. So again, you have one product, two different personas who require two different kinds of content. And you have two different ways of packaging that content, that it's been consumed. Last but not least, now if you make an interesting video, let's say for my daughter, and you put it on LinkedIn, she will not see it because she is not active there, not even on Facebook. Now young kids nowadays, they're not on Facebook anymore. They're on whatever, Snapchat or on Instagram. That's on a side note. They're not on Facebook anymore because I asked around. Facebook is for old people. My daughter is not on Facebook because her parents are on it. So that's true for most kids. So if you want to reach kids that age, you have to go where they hang out. So in that case would be whatever, Instagram or Snapchat or something, whatever else, or TikTok, wherever they hang out at the moment. So for me, if you want to reach me with my bullet point list about our employment rates and accreditation and safety, and whatever else is in place, and you would put this on TikTok, I would not see it because I don't hang out there. I hang out on LinkedIn. So again, my point is you have one product, you have two different kinds of personas. So you have to create two different kinds of content, and you have to package it in a way that each persona will go for it. And you have to create content that is relevant for each persona. So again, my point is you have one product, you have two different kinds of personas. So you have to create two different kinds of content, and you have to package it in a way that each persona will go for it. And you have to create content that is relevant for each persona. So again, my point is you have one product, you have two different kinds of personas. So you have to create two different kinds of content, and you have to package it in a way that each persona will go for it. And you have to put it someplace where your personas can consume that content. So that all has to be part of your overall strategy. So the goal is first, selling a bachelor program. Then you have to be clear about your personas. And that example that I gave earlier on myself, I had the training and development manager as well as the conference organizer. They are very similar. So I can reuse quite a lot of content. But for that university example, I can't reuse the same content. I have to produce different content for at least two different personas. And then you have to set it up someplace where it can be consumed. So if I were to know that, I really do like LinkedIn a lot. I don't like Facebook so much. But if I were to know that, let's say all the L&D managers and all the conference organizers, they hang out on Facebook and not on LinkedIn, then I have no choice but to go there and make myself known in that environment. So to sort of combine all this back together, be clear as to what you're trying to achieve with your social media presence, be it as a business, as an individual, whatever. Think about now, who do you need to reach? Anybody outside that is not important. Let's back to that university example. So you have only two. You have the prospective student and you have the parent. Anybody else, anybody who is, let's say, a young parent with toddlers, no need to reach. What for? They don't have anybody to send yet. Old guys whose kids are already past universities, also no need to reach. What for? Their kids are already through. So you want to be very specific into who you can reach. That way, once you know this, then you can make content that is specific for that particular persona that you have. So then your content can be of high value. If you're a university and you try to reach every Tom, Dick, and Harry and their cat with one piece of content, then that piece of content will be very generic and very shallow, and you wouldn't be able to impress either one of the actual personas. So the better you define your goal and the better you define your persona, the better content you can create that will, in the end, speak to your personas. Okay, having said that with content, we may have a quick note here. This is just to recap. So we'll ask yourself, will this content help me to reach my goal? And will this content be of value to my persona? This is what I ask myself before I post any single piece of content. And I'd like you to give this a shot and just see if that helps you to be more focused, not only in your content creation, but also more focused into what you get out of it. Do you get more leads out of this? Do you get more inquiries? Maybe you get more connection requests, at least as a start, of people who think that that content that you produce is of value. And those people could be maybe individuals who could give you a job later, or offer you a job, or sign up for a mailing list that you have, or go onto your lead generation form, or whatever it might be, but somebody who is connected to what you have or what you represent. So content, a bit more about content, because that's something that is rather important. Content itself is not enough. It's got to be optimized content. So it has to be content that is focused on what you're trying to achieve. Now, posting stuff on LinkedIn, for example, let's say for me again, if I go back to my example, if I go to LinkedIn and say, hire me, I'm the best, please, then that's not good enough, because when I say this, it is simply an advertisement. I advertise, nobody believes in advertisement, and people also don't like to be marketed to. So if you're trying to reach your personas and you tell your personas, I'm the best in this, I'm the best in that, our product is the best, and whatever, they're not going to listen. So you have to put it in a way that it is seen as valuable to them, as beneficial. Let me give you another example on this. This is something that my wife is doing. So this time I'm not going to use myself. I use my wife as an example. I already used my daughter. This is stingless bee honey that my wife is selling on the site. It's a little side hustle. Stingless bee honey is something that is very unique. It is unique in a number of ways. First of all, it is very liquid. So it's not like your normal honey that is a bit viscous. It is very liquid, almost like oil, like cooking oil. The other thing is, it is very sour. So it is not sweet honey like that what would you be used to, now what you put on your breakfast sandwich toast or whatever, or toast. It is actually quite sour. So a great way of drinking this is, or consuming this, is to put it in some cold water and stir it up quite nicely, and then drink it on a hot day. So it's super refreshing for that. The other thing is it is very high in nutrients. So it is much more nutritious than regular honey. So my wife sells this stuff. The issue with this now is nobody buys it because, first of all, it's quite expensive, and nobody ever thinks that they're going to buy sour honey. So how to overcome this? Yeah, let's do this first. Anybody has ever tried this honey? I'm gonna stop this. So in the chat, if you don't mind, could you? My chat ended up. My chat lost. Sorry, I lost my chat. Let's see what that's here. So sorry, just give me a second. So, have you tried? No. So mostly no. Okay. Some people, yes, regular user. Mostly that's so it's popular in Malaysia. This particular honey. Go back to it. I'll go back and show you. So most people have not tried it. So if I come to you and say, okay, this is quite expensive stuff. So if I come to you now and say, okay, you go and buy it. It's really good. Buy it. It has many health benefits, and it's only 25 US dollars. Give me all your money now. Most of you would look at me, probably stare, and then just walk away. Luckily, I can't see you, but you can see me. So nobody would believe me if I just come out and say, no, you should buy this stuff. And I don't blame you, because I would be the same. So how to get around this? And around this is if I introduce you to it. So this is the stingless bee. Not the big one, the small one there. That is what's called a stingless bee. So as you can see, it's a lot smaller than a regular honeybee, which is on the right. That also means it can carry a lot less nectar and can produce a lot less honey out of that. The other thing also is it has very small wings. Now, the way bees generate honey, something I learned as well, is you have different job descriptions. So you have bees that go out and harvest nectar. So they go to flowers, suck up the nectar, and bring it back to the hive. Once they're in the hive, they regurgitate it, and then you have resident bees who will take it up into their stomach. They have a special kind of stomach for nectar in their body. It will sit there for a while, and then they regurgitate it out again, and another bee will take it up. So you have a give and take of that honey through a number of bees. So one reason why this honey is sour and not sweet is more bees take care of that particular nectar. So you get a mixture of the honey plus all the beneficial, I wouldn't call it gastric juices, but the juices that the stingless bees use to convert nectar into honey. So they are very, very beneficial. They have huge health benefits. There are tons of books have been written about this, but that also makes the honey sour. So then these bees, because they are so small, they only bring back small quantities. And because they have so small wings, the honey that they bring back, they cannot really dry it out. See, the normal honey, when it's been stored, or when it's been stored, the bees, after the honey the nectar is converted into honey, the bees will put it into honeycomb, and then they sit in front. There are other bees who are then in charge of this, and they flap their wings. And that will dry out the more liquid honey and make it more viscous, as you know honey to be. Now, for the stingless bees, they can't do this because their wings are so small. So their hives are actually horizontal. Here you can see a picture of that. Now the honey that we get comes from Samsia. Samsia is the lady with the pink headscarf, or pink, I guess, in the middle here. She owns that hive, or quite actually a bunch of hives. These hives are all in the middle of the rainforest, so they're far away from any pollution source. They're very difficult to get to. You have to go on the 4x4. They're very remote, and she takes great care of those. So it's in the middle of lots of flowering forest trees who help bring nectar or diversified nectar or diversified flowers for the bees. So the bees come in there and produce their honey. Now, you can also see that this honey is being collected with a little tube. The honey is so liquid, so the hive is flat, and it has to be sucked out. So that is very labor intensive on top of that. Yeah. So you have the bees who produce very little, first of all, because they're so small. The honey is sour because of the increased number of times it has been put back and forth, and it is very labor intensive. All of this makes the honey more expensive. So now that you know all this, you know who's involved in making the honey. You have an idea of why it tastes sour, and you also know why it is more expensive. So you have a story behind it. So if I were to ask you now, would you like to give it a try? Then there is a much higher chance that you actually might want to give it a shot. Now, earlier, if I just market in your face, you would probably walk away. Now you might be a bit more open to at least giving it a try. And what I've done just now is I have basically told you a story about this. So I have not just said, okay, this is my honey, go and buy it. I have told you a story. So storytelling is a very, very powerful way of getting a message across or a piece of content across. Again, it depends a bit on your marketing persona, but in general, having, as it says here, an authentic emotional connection with you and your marketing persona will help to create a very close bond. That bond can then over time be utilized to reach that goal that you are trying to get to, be it more sales, more leads, or whatever it might be. So think about storytelling as one way of getting your valuable content across. So to sum it up, we talked about three different kinds of, or three different strategies for social media marketing. One is the goal, that's your first one. You have to be clear as to what you're trying to achieve. So for my wife, it would be, I want to sell that honey. But I also know the difficulties that I have with that. So first of all, it's more expensive than regular honey, and the tastes are something that is a bit of acquired. Then you have to be clear about your persona. So for my wife's case, the persona would be people who might be interested in buying that honey, or at least to be open to giving it a shot. So those are the ones who she needs to reach. Maybe people who are health conscious because of the health benefits that this honey has. So then she has to provide content that will convince the personas to buy, or at least to try it out, but preferably to buy. And one way of doing that is not by providing just marketing material, but to explain all the different bits and pieces that go into the honey, like the people who are involved, the process that's involved, why it is more expensive, why it tastes like it is, and what it is good for. I mentioned it's great as a refreshing drink that you could use it for. So all these combined together, I think are some three strategies that you might want to consider when it comes to marketing either yourself or any product or service that you have, or even your company in social media. So if you think that this was somewhat useful, then maybe you want some more of this. Now, if you want some more of this, so far I've only touched on a couple of things, but we also have through Octara a full one-day social media marketing course that will contain a lot of other stuff as well. So I'm going to introduce it in the next slide. That will be delivered online as well. It's available worldwide, no matter where you are. It's now a digital world, so you don't have to travel to a classroom anymore. Now, previously when I traveled to Karachi, for example, it's a long travel to get there from Malaysia. You have to go through Dubai and then through Iranian airspace into Pakistan. So there's a lot of layovers here and there. There's no direct flight. So that is no longer required. Same for you. You're not going to get stuck in traffic jams or have to fly to any training. Anything is available digitally now. The date for the next one is scheduled for the 18th of June this year. So it's in about a month's time. And the fee all in is just $80 for the whole day training. All in means it contains all the marketing, the material, handouts, manuscripts, slides, whatever you want. Of course, it contains a certificate as well that you will get. So that is something you might want to think about. This is what we're going to talk about in addition to what I just mentioned. So we already talked a little bit about the goals, personas, and a little bit about content. There's a lot more to say about content. These are just some other topics that would be covered in that one-day event. So it's quite comprehensive, as you can see here. Now, the good thing is, why should I say how good it was? So I have done this in the past as live training. So here you'll see some people who were in the social media marketing training in that's Islamabad. And there's feedback from one of the participants in here. We'll eagerly wait for some more to attend in the future. That person certainly liked it. I have another picture here that was done social media marketing in July 2019. That was in Karachi. Again, feedback was quite positive. So maybe if you join this, you might also find it beneficial, even in an online environment. So now the good news, the real good news, is the first 5 participants here from this webinar to register with Octara, preferably now or as soon as possible, will receive a 30% discount on the $80 fee. So $80 is already cheap for a one-day course, full day with everything in it. If you register now with Octara, particularly with our brother Savian, then you will receive a 30% discount on the training fee. So up to you to do this as quickly as possible. This option will disappear in 24 hours latest, or once it's taken up. Yeah. So make use of this 30% off your $80. That leaves it almost too cheap to do. Other than that, for this particular webinar, you will also receive access to the recordings of this particular webinar. So in case you want to see this again, or anything else later on, you will be able to get the slides if you wanted to. And you will also receive an e-certificate of attendance after this webinar. You will get that, I guess, through email. So my Octara colleagues will send that to you. All right, I think that brings me to the end. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Again, you can reach me. So we do this through the chat in a second if you have any questions. But you can also reach me again through the website as drfrankpeter.com or through LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're active on LinkedIn, please connect. I would also always be happy to learn what you are doing. So learn from you, and you can also take a look at what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to take out stop the slide share, and then we can go into the chat and see. So if you have any questions in the chat, you can either unmute yourself if you like, unmute yourself, ask a question, or you can write it in the chat. And don't be shy. Any questions? No questions? Comments? Adil, you have a question?
I'll ask a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I can ask a question. How are you doing, Dr. Frank?
Very good, Adil. Thank you very much. How are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, Doctor, what I want to know is, with everybody going online globally, is the internet holding or is it under stress?
I don't think it's under excessive stress. Normally the last mile is under stress. So we had this initially when our lockdown period started. Everybody went online. and consumed heavy stuff like Netflix and YouTube and so on. So that put a bit of a strain on our local network. Having said that, now quite a fair bit of our networks here in Malaysia are still copper cables, so they've been overloaded quite easily. Areas in my area here is fiber optic cables, and that was not an issue at all. We had a brief issue with intercontinental cables. So there are glass fiber cables or fiber optic cables that go from here through Japan and the United States. One of them broke, but our local provider was also able to patch this up quite quickly. So I don't think the internet's gonna break anytime soon.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Dr.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Jamil Sahib, you go ahead. You go ahead, please.
No, I think you have the right first. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Right. So, Dr. Frank, thank you. Very informative session. My name is Shuja, and I'm in the HR profession. You're right that social media has itself now created different personas as well. For example, Facebook and LinkedIn, that's primarily people of my age and probably 30s. That's where you find a lot of candidates there. But the next phenomenon that we have is we have people coming in from generation Y and then generation Z coming in. That's the new the new workforce that would be coming in. Now, if you look at that persona, the students who have graduated or are about to graduate, and we are looking for induction for their management training programs, obviously that the content that they would be looking at would be something more engaging, something that you spoke of like TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. So how do you suggest that companies, when they're looking at talent management and talent acquisition specifically in their target talent, what I understand is here that you're saying we need to now look into these social media platforms as well, like Snapchat and probably Instagram, to attract candidates, because the middle management candidates that I look at, they're primarily are well established and they are on LinkedIn and all, but they don't seem to have much interest in social media platforms like Snapchat and Instagram. But the new recruit that I'm looking at, and those whom I need to bring in on the management training programs, are a different persona completely. So just a clarity, how do you suggest that a corporate would be actually looking at creating contents for those personas?
Okay, there are a couple of thoughts to it. Here in Malaysia, we have I have one peer, if you want, so one trainer colleague who his name is Muihan Ko. Shout out to him. He makes it a point to educate students who are about to graduate on the importance of LinkedIn. The thing is that now many students, now people who would be your target market, they have not yet seen the importance of personal branding, or so it's more the play part. So TikTok is about play, Facebook is a bit about play, Instagram is also about play. So and I think the ones who are ready to get into like management training, for example, those would be the ones who would see the importance of that personal brand, and also the importance of platforms where they can showcase themselves. So those would be the ones who would be more active on LinkedIn. I think even if you wanted to attract, let's say, management trainees or the people who would be up to your standard, and you would go fishing on, let's say, on TikTok or on Snapchat, you would most likely not really find the right candidates because they may not be mature enough at that stage. That would be my thought. I mean, it's worth a shot, obviously. Maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Not TikTok, obviously not TikTok, but just to gather what you said, the personas are very different. Those new generations are more vibrant, and they are more active, and they really get bored with if the content is too long. So I think the general span of time is about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. That's the max that they look at. Whereas people who are of my age, they need more details. They might just get along with having more details coming in. So yeah, so I think you're right.
Yeah, well, you're right. So your age is my age, I guess. So we are more into details. But even for younger generation, provided it is engaging to them. So if you have something boring and you give me 1.5 minute video of boring stuff, I'm also going to be dead bored. And so will you be, I guess. But if you give a youngster like my daughter, for example, if you give her a 10-minute video or 20-minute video that is engaging to her, that is valuable to her, she'll watch it to the end. So it's not so much a time thing, it's more of a value thing, I believe. So if you can provide something that is valuable to, let's say, high school, a university graduate or about to graduate, on, let's say, on Facebook or on Instagram, to attract them to your program, then I think it will be consumed.
Right.
Okay, I think.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Before Zoom reminds us time is up, I'd like to take this opportunity at a personal level on behalf of Octara to thank you very much, Frank, for your time and your insights this afternoon. I would also like to thank all the participants who have taken time out to grace this webinar. And I would also like to thank my team at Octara, especially Aisha, Zainab, and Sarin, who have put this together despite very little experience in going online with this kind of webinars. So thank you, everyone. And I'm just passing on to our co-host, Aisha. If you want to say anything, please say so.
Aisha, you're muted.
Unmute yourself.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, JJ, for giving us the opportunity to explore this, platform of running the online training. And it was a very useful event, and a very special thanks to Frank, who has given us a very useful tips on how to use this social media effectively. There are a few questions in the chat which I would like Frank to answer. There's one question from Asma Wali. She says, can you share some tips on social media marketing for IT company?
Yeah, I saw that's not with a glimpse. So there's one question about IT company, and there was another one here by Mohammed Suhaib about agriculture. So
Yeah.
The principle is the same behind those two. So think about who's your persona? What is your persona interested in? Who buys your stuff? So that is the first. What is the second question actually? The first question is, what am I trying to achieve? And it's obviously sell more of your product. Then who's going to buy your stuff? What would they be interested in? I wrote an article recently for Aurora. That's one of a Dawn publication. It's a magazine for marketing professionals, I think, in Pakistan. And so I mentioned that stingless bee thing there, but I also mentioned a couple of others. One is there has been a huge wave of Chinese farmers, really small-time farmers, using YouTube to promote their agricultural products. So they were tired of selling to a wholesaler and losing money in between. They only could sell their stuff in a very small amount, and then the wholesalers and the brokers, they make all the big money by selling it to consumers. So they wanted to get all of it. So they thought about showcasing, storytelling their life as a farmer. So they showed how they grew their crops, how they do the weeding and all this other stuff, how they dig it out of the ground. And you will not believe how many people are actually interested in this, because it now creates a direct connection between the farmer and the end consumer. And something similar could be true for you, depending on what agricultural products you have and who your consumer is, or IP products. People will buy your stuff because they have a need for it. Nobody buys your product because it's your product. They only buy a product because they have a need for it. They have a problem that they need to have solved. So you could come up with content that will help solve those needs or solve those contents. That is one way of doing it as in terms of content. So think about how you can solve your customers' needs. That would give rise to a great piece of content. For branding purposes, now, if you want to take it a step further for branding purposes, I did training for a local telecom company, mobile phone company. Their corporate color is blue. It's a very shiny, very bright blue. And they came to me and said, "No, Frank, we tried our videos on YouTube, but nobody engages with it." So we looked at it, and it turns out those are the TV commercials which they put on YouTube. I mean, nobody in their right mind engages with a TV commercial. So we tried something different. We had one guy from that company in a company shirt standing in front of that blue background and explain the difference between a 3G network and a 4G network. So it's a while ago. And that got massive traction. This guy did not mention the company name a single time, but you could see it from the corporate colors behind who it was. So that got a lot of engagement. So that was educational, and it was, in a way, storytelling that comes behind it. So maybe that's also something for you to consider, whether you have IT products. Don't showcase your product. Showcase how your product can solve a need that people have. Let's say for IT products, rather than, let's say, I want to sell you a computer. Rather than me telling you, oh, this computer has whatever 1 terabyte disk, and it has whatever 300 gigabyte this, and so on. So all the technical specs, that's not really helpful to an end consumer unless it's a geek. What is more helpful to an end consumer is, now this computer is twice as fast. So you can get work done twice as fast. You can go home to your family faster. That is a benefit that the consumer understands. So if it comes to content, think as a consumer would do. Think about the needs that your personas have, and then use your content to address that need. I hope that made some sense.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I hope Asma and Sohail have got their answer to their queries. And once again, I would like to thank you all and Frank for making this happen. We look forward to our future training in June, hopefully. Thank you once again. And thank you, Team Octara, for all the support and making this program a successful event. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks to all. Now, I got no place to go. We are still under conditional movement control order. So for those of you who wish to leave, now, no offense is taken if you would like to leave. If you would stick around and ask some more questions, by all means, I'll be here. This Zoom meeting is scheduled for another half hour, so there will be no notice coming up. If there's anything I can answer, any tips or anything else that I could do, by all means, let me know, and I'll see if I can answer that. There is one here, Nabil. Is it advisable to pay social media webs, and how much should we spend? That's a very good question. I get this asked quite a lot. Okay, let's look at this from a different point. Let's say I'm a company with a social media presence, and you are a consumer, and you come to my page, let's say my Facebook page, hypothetically, and you ask me something there. So I, as a company, I post something, and you have a question. You want to have a clarification. How long would you be willing to wait for my answer? Normally, I ask this for a show of hands or something like that, but now in the interest of time, when I asked this question 2 years ago, people were very generous. Oh, I'm willing to wait 2 days, 48 hours for an answer. Then about a year ago, that shrank to about a day or less than a day. Now, if I ask people, especially younger generation, they want the answer immediately. Now, so the pressure is now on me to answer your question as quickly as possible. Now, if I were to hire a social media agency, what would they do? So first of all, when it comes to content, I have to produce that content, give it to the social media agency, they post it. If you have a question, they will take that question, give it to me. I have to figure out an answer. I give it back to the social media agency, and they post it. That will take time. Would you be happy to wait for, I don't know, half a day or a day for my answer to come out, or would you be frustrated? So that is my general answer. So if you hire an agency to do your posting and whatever, you're actually elongating the time or extending the time it takes to address comments or questions, which gives rise to unhappy customers. So I tried this in the past. So I looked at data from some of the clients that I work with, and the longer it takes, the more frustrated people are. And long means actually sometimes minutes. So people nowadays want the answer really quickly. Now, for example, if your question to me were to be a technical question, which I can't answer, so then I would give this question to my technical team, but I would respond immediately saying, Nadim, I got your question. So sorry, I can't answer this because it's too technical, but I promise I give it to my team now. And the moment I get an answer, I post it back here for you to see and I tag you. That I can do immediately. But the social media agency can't do that or won't do that. Yeah. So to cut it really short now, I would not contract out my contact management to a social media agency. Planning for content that you can put out. So let's say putting up an editorial calendar. So looking at, let's say, a flow of posts that you have to do to reach a particular goal over a period of time, let's say a month or a few months or half a year, whatever. That is okay to hire a social media agency. That I think is fine because they can help with the overall planning. But from a day-to-day routine, I would not. So it was long-winded, but I hope that made my point. At the moment, LinkedIn is employer branding. We currently engage ourselves in posting employee rewards, testimonials, and market engagement activities happening in the company right now. Are we on the right track? What's the purpose? So branding, branding for whom? Branding for new staff, branding for new hire, that is, branding for end consumers to consider your products and services. Those would be two different things. So if you look at new recruitment, then of course, testimonials from your current staff would be great. Having said that, now if I were to go, let's say I'm interested in your company, to be employed in your company, and I look at your official profile, and I see that now certain people of your company speak very highly of you. In the back of my head would always be, what I can't see here is probably somebody put a gun to that person's head. I would most likely go to Glassdoor or somebody else or someplace else where I would see a bit more possibly unbiased stuff. But what I would do rather than testimonials would be behind the scenes pictures where you introduce people from your company to the rest of the world. So you humanize your company. You can do this for employees, but you can also do this for customers from a customer point of view. So if I were to read, let's say, articles or blog posts from your company, it would not be from the firm or the company, it would be from individuals in your company. So I would get to know those people. For LinkedIn in particular, I think it's a good platform for this. Now, some companies that I work with, I ask them to get most of their employees, especially the higher management or white-collar employees, onto LinkedIn and then post about the company. Now, I'm not going to muzzle them. Hopefully, the company treats them well enough that they write good stuff about it. But that will then altogether bring up an environment about the company that is a bit more believable, rather than doing it out of the company's own postings themselves. The moment you post it as the company, it is still an advertisement. But if somebody else posts, so let's say, if I would be an employee in your company, hypothetically, and I would post on my own timeline, now we had a great meeting today, now we actually made some progress on this particular project, I'm really happy. And a prospective employee would read that would be a lot more believable. So it's peers trust peers rather than advertisements. That would be my thought on this. Do you think, other than social media, when individuals visit the website, there should be some linkage between the two? Because on the website, the information seems to be just dumped. Another very good one. So part of, now, in case you consider to sign up for that one-day course, now one thing that I focus a little bit of time on is the funnel. Now, as I mentioned, there's an endpoint to it. You want something. Now, let's say you're for recruiting, you want people to fill out a recruitment form. Maybe you want lead generation. Maybe you want to sell something like an e-commerce website. Maybe you want to get people onto your e-commerce site, something like that. So for me, for my company, for example, we want people to come to our website to fill out the registration form for our courses. That is my goal. So once people fill out the registration form for my course, which is on my website, they will click a button submit and come to a page on my website that says, thank you for your registration. And that is my ultimate goal. That's where I want people to go. The only way somebody can end up at that thank you page is if they have gone through my registration page. So now, when I go to social media, for example, let's say to LinkedIn, I will post stuff there and use that social media simply to generate interest. Now, from there, I try to get people to click on a link in those social media posts to either my blog or my website. Yeah. The reason I do that that way is, let's say on Facebook, if you try to get people to do something on Facebook, it is very difficult. Even to read something that is a bit longer, a bit more contentful is difficult, because they think, no, if I spend 5 minutes reading this particular post, I miss out on all the cat videos that my friends are posting. So there's a lot of distractions that go on. On the other hand, if you can pique somebody's interest and get them to click on a link in a Facebook post back to your own website, you will remove all these distractions. Yeah, you have them for yourself. So you can then wail a bit more or market a bit more on that content that you introduced in that Facebook post. So I see this as a funnel. So I use social media platforms as a funnel into, let's say, my own blog, where the social media conversation is being continued, and then into the website, eventually into the registration form, and all the way to the thank you form that goes in it. So that would normally be for me a progression, using both social media as well as a website. So that of course means that now website content and social media content have to complement each other. So it has no content dumping or whatever. All that content, both on the website as well as on social media, have to be done with that particular goal in mind, to get people to the thank you page. Okay, thank you for the session. I'm marketing manager at Solar Solutions Provider. We're using social media. It's jumped. We're using social media with an objective to increase the sales and generate leads. For that, our content strategy is around the picture of previous projects, testimonials from customers, solar information. Okay. Good one. Yeah. So it's about getting solar products out into the retail market. For solar panels, it's a particular kind of person who will think about solar panels, and that would be somebody who has obviously environmental interest. Yeah, so that homes down your persona. So it's not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's really for people, first of all, who have the money for this and willing to spend it, because it is an investment that comes up, and for people who have that mindset. So an environmental friendliness or green mindset for it. So those people like to be more educated about this. So one of the strengths that you have in social media is to use them for educational purposes. There will be the chances that you can sell on social media is very, very small. So nobody is going to, so even if you post, let's say, a picture of a completed project or a testimonial from a customer, which I think are great to post. Nobody will message you and says, oh, I love this, give me your account number, I transfer you whatever, $10,000 right away. Nobody's going to do that. But it will serve your lead generation. Customer testimonials in particular are great because it is a third party that comes out. So if it's on LinkedIn, try not to get customer testimonials on your own timeline. Get them to do it on in the recommendation section on LinkedIn, so you can refer back to. For example, if you go to my recommendation section, if you go to my LinkedIn profile and look at the recommendation section, there are over 100 reviews or recommendations that I have received. Those serve as a testimonial that I might actually be delivering what I promised to deliver. And the same thing is for you. Once people have put their reviews there, then you can copy and paste it into your own timeline. So that does to make it believable. So people then can see, oh, this is actually a real person and not an employee dressed up as an ex-customer. Same thing would be if you can do this on video. That video is a big thing at the moment, for at least for the time being. Video testimonials are great. So if you have, let's say, a completed product or a completed project, and you have, let's say, the project owner stand in front of it, ask the project owner, what did you think about our service, and let them just talk, and then don't edit it, just post it as it is. Even if they have something slightly bad to say, no, it took a bit longer than we expected, that is perfectly fine. Leave that in, don't cut it out, because it makes it more human. Yeah. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, now if I were to come to a review site and every review is 5 stars and everything is, that was the best ever, then I tend to not believe it. Now, there will always be somebody who is not fully fully pleased with how it worked or fully pleased with the product. They will give you a 4 or 3 star. That in there, if you respond to it properly, that in there makes it even more credible than it was before. But I think you're on the right track. I mean, showing completed projects, that proves that you can do what you say you do. Customer testimonials, again, they are very high value. Put it into a platform where most likely the personas that, first of all, have the money to buy this and are interested in green technology, where they would hang out, and those would most likely be better educated ones, probably white collar. So LinkedIn might be a good platform for that as well. So I think you're pretty much on the right track for that. If a company doesn't have enough budget to target a potential audience based on their personas, how should it effectively plan organic content? There is no, I don't understand the part. So where is there not enough money to identify your persona? Let's say you're already selling stuff. Yeah. Then you know what your customer base is. Now, I work a lot with, I mentioned this with universities, but I also work a lot with hotels. Not at the moment, they're all empty now. But the hotels, now let's say they offer honeymoon suites, let's say, as an example, as a hotel. They know exactly who they need to target. So it's not just newly married. That's too broad. They know a lot more. They can look back into their database and can figure out, now, of the past 100 people or 100 couples or 200 couples who booked our honeymoon suite in the past, what do they all have in common? Are they of a similar age range? Do they pay by a credit card? Do they pay by cash? Do they pay by debit card? Do they pay by a platinum card or a black card? Do they eat their meals inside the house, or do they, because it's more expensive, or do they go out because it's a bit cheaper? So there's a lot of information that you already have as a company that will help you to identify certain traits that cover a number of your existing customers. That is how you build your persona. So you can look back at your existing data and dig out what are common denominators for people who have already purchased your products or services. It may be 2 personas or 3 personas. It could be, let's say, a hotel, they will have business travelers, they may have honeymooners, and they may have families who come. So they have different kinds of personas. So they can dig out specifically then for those personas and identify those. So you should be able to do the same thing. Once you have homed this down, not just by simple demographics, not age and gender and whatever, but also by, let's say, the wants and needs that they have, then you can create marketing messages that will talk to them. If you simply go for organic reach, then you shoot in the dark, basically. So you use a lot of gunpowder and pellets, and you're not going to hit anything, especially with a message. So if you have, if once you know your persona and you can create content that speaks to the persona, that is of value to that persona, then you can put it out in the open, put it into the wild, as it's called, and wait for organic pickup, or even advertise to it. But then you already know that this particular content will not talk to everybody else, but only or mainly to your personas. So you already have something in there that will help you to just pick or pinpoint your target market. So doesn't have enough budget to target a persona. I don't think that's a valid argument. The persona can easily be identified. If you have limited data, so that I get this as well, I'll be a new company with limited data, then make educated guesses. or ask the few customers that you have. Ask them about stuff that might be of interest to you. Now ask them, now what's important to you? Now, why did you choose our product and not somebody else's? Now what did you see in us that you didn't see in others? Interview them, call them up, get them over whatever, a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something, once you're allowed to leave the house again, and just simply build on that. Now you start out with a more generic profile, and the more customers you have over time, the more specific your persona profiles will become. So money is not really an object for that. It's how much time you're willing to put into it. I hope that made some sense. Usman, I see a hand up there. You have any question, Usman Adib, or did you have any question in the chat which I have missed, unfortunately? So I'm not sure if I missed any. Let me scroll back up. What is your view on personalized content? How effective can it be? Personalized content, that is exactly the reason why we build a persona. So a persona allows for personalized content. The more you know about your perfect customer, what makes them tick, what they like, what they dislike, what they do, what hobbies they have, the more you know about that particular persona as a group, the more content you can create that is of value to them. So that is the high personalized content. I mentioned this earlier, for example, with the university, where you have one product, let's say a bachelor program, and you have, in this case, only two different personas. Personalized content means you create content for students, for prospective students, and you create personalized content for the parents of those students. Yeah. So it's not personalized doesn't mean it is for an individual. That would be, of course, the best case scenario, but it's next to impossible to do. But personalized means you look at customer segments that are profitable to you, and then you try to create content that speaks specifically to those. If you annoy people who will never ever in their life buy from you, then who cares? Because they're not going to give you any money. So even if they don't like you or if they're annoyed, it doesn't really matter. In the end, now it's you have a business goal or whatever personal branding goal, and that really homes down just to a particular persona or a couple of personas. And for those, you generate your personalized content. Hope that's made some sense there. What's the website? Oh yeah, branding. Okay, I don't know if I missed any question. Aisha, did you come across any other question which I missed?
Yeah, I didn't see any question, Frank, as of now. But if anything comes up, I'll let you know. Plus, Shuja Ahmed Saab has registered for the program which is scheduled on 18th June. So he'll be entitled to get 30% discount for the for the online training.
Cool. Thank you very much.
For the 18th. So any one of you who's interested, please get yourself registered with at Octara with Sarem Matik. We'll share the contact details with you. And also, I would like to thank you all and our audience on Facebook who were live listening and watching this webinar. If you have any questions, queries, please contact us at Octara website and at our email address to sarematik@octara.com. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. If you would like to say something, please share.
Okay, then thank you very much, and hope you found it useful. Hope to see you again.
Once again.
Thanks, JJ. Hope to see you for the longer event. So then we have a whole day, which is a lot more intense, a lot more stuff to be covered.
Like we say, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay.
Thank you.
Then,
thank you, Octara.
Thank you very much, and until next time.
Thank you, everybody. Everybody else. Bye-bye. Allah Hafiz.
Yeah.
Gulam still here? Gulam, are you still here? I'm not sure if I can see you. If you can just do a quick yes or something, then I can answer it. In any case, Gulam had a question. What is the best way to develop and then narrow down an audience for ads? That's for paid ads. Now, paid ads is not really something that I had covered here. Once you know, again, it boils down to persona for paid ads as well. Paid Facebook ads or Google ads or anything else. Once you know your persona, then Facebook has a very, very strict targeting mechanism. So does Google. The way this works, so Facebook is, Facebook, as you know, was under a lot of privacy issues at the time being, for some time, for privacy invasions, that's what it was. So Facebook follows you around. Yeah. Facebook sees what you're posting, Facebook sees what you're reading, Facebook sees when you scroll through something, where you stop, what you look at, what images you look at, what videos you look at. Facebook is aware of your emotional status. Now, if you post something and have a smiley face on it, emoji, then Facebook thinks you're in happy mode. If you put a sad face, then you're in sad mode and whatever. So Facebook knows a lot about you, knows a lot about what you're interested in, what you comment on, what is valuable to you, and so on and so on. And Facebook makes this knowledge available to advertisers. So let's say you comment a lot on, let's say, on photo blog or on photo posts or about cameras and all this kind of stuff. Then Facebook knows that you're interested in cameras. Or so you have this as a long-term interest or even a short-term interest, depending on how frequent you do this. So Facebook then puts you into a box, into a virtual box of people together with other people who are also interested in cameras. Now, as an advertiser, you can then target that particular box. That means if I were to sell, let's say, cameras, let's say I have an e-commerce website, Frank's Camera Shop, I can go to Facebook and tell Facebook, okay, I want to make an ad, and I want this ad only to be shown to people who are interested in cameras. And then Facebook will dig out that box of all the individuals, who the user IDs, but the user IDs who are interested in cameras, and my ad will only be shown to them. But in order for this to work, I have to know exactly who buys my stuff or who is interested in my stuff. Now, for cameras, that's an easy example. But if you want to run ads, for example, like Gulam, for example, if you want to run ads, you have to be clear as to who's going to buy your stuff, buy your product. Once you do that, then you can laser sharp target who's your perfect, once you know who's perfect persona, you can laser sharp target on Facebook the representation of your personas. So for Facebook ads, you can combine interests, for example, short-term interest, long-term interest. You can combine parental status, so other demographic information like age, gender, location, employment status, income level. All of these you can combine. Makes only sense to do this once you know what you're actually looking for. So the persona is the first thing that has to come, and everything else like ad building is then a breeze after that once you know this. Hope that's answered that question a bit. I mean, for Google Ads, this is just to wail a little bit on this. For Google Ads, this is a lot more sophisticated. Now, Facebook can only follow you on Facebook, pretty much, and a few apps that you run, and of course on WhatsApp. Google follows you on the rest of the internet. One of the strokes of genius of Google was the introduction of Gmail as a free email client. Whenever I hold a class, physical class, I ask for a show of hands who does not have a Google account, and never a hand goes up. So everybody, I would assume that pretty much everybody in the world has some kind of a Google account, mostly a Gmail account. So now that you have a Gmail account, you're logged into your Gmail, and you're logged in on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet, on your phone. As long as you're logged in, Google knows it's the same person. So then whatever you do on your mobile, on your tablet, on your desktop, on your laptop, whatever you do, whatever pages you look at, what you're scrolling in, what you're reading, what you're watching, what pictures you look at, everything you do, Google will know. And of course, keeps note of it. So Google puts you into boxes as well. And it's a lot more sophisticated, those boxes, than Facebook has, because Google has a lot more information about you. So I can tell you with absolute certainty that Google knows more about you than you do about, that you know about yourself, unfortunately. So that is being used for marketing purposes. So when it comes to advertising through Google, for example, the targeting mechanisms are a lot more sophisticated than they are compared to Facebook. So you can do a lot more laser point targeting through Google than you can do to Facebook, simply because it has a much bigger catchment area. Another question. Thanks for asking the question. What's the most effective way to market an app on the internet? App installs that you got to do through Google. So you have to advertise. You have to let people know that you have an app first of all. If people don't know this, then they kind of yes, then they don't know that you can that if they don't know that you have an app, then they can't download it. It only makes sense to advertise that app on mobiles. To me, there's no real point to advertise. I see this quite often. People advertise apps on a desktop or a laptop. I can't download it from there. So if I'm interested in the app, I want to download it now. So I would only advertise on mobile devices. Then there are different ways of advertising this. Again, I probably would not advertise it on Facebook because people are generally distracted through Facebook, even Facebook on a mobile. So I would advertise the app through Google. Google has a specific advertising format that is specifically meant for app installs that you could use. So that would allow you to advertise not only on mobile devices, but also in other apps that similar apps that people may have. So let's say you have I don't know, a weight loss app. You could advertise your weight loss app in other people's weight loss app. So then whoever has one is not happy with it can download another. Or if you have a weight loss app and somebody, I don't know, watches a slimming website or a slimming video, you could advertise on top of that. So again, it helps if you know a persona. The most economical way would be, we got to spend a bit of money. There will be no free exposure for app downloads. People have to be convinced first. And for that, you have to see it first. So I guess that's the long and short of it. So you have to pay money. You have to pay Google for it. I wouldn't do it on Facebook, as I said, I would pay Google. Hi, Paige. I remember you. Also from sunny Malaysia. Any other question, comments? Okay, then thanks a lot. I'll be overshot by quite a lot, but I'm always happy to do so. If there are questions then that means that there's interest. And if there's interest, that's what I'm here for. So I hope you consider the whole day program if you haven't already done so. If not, then hopefully I see you for a different webinar. We try to churn some of those out on a more regular basis or free. If you have any specific interest in a particular webinar, let the Octara people know. They will let me know. Could be online advertising, maybe so Google Ads, for example. Could be maybe Google Analytics. Could be more comprehensive thing about digital marketing overall. If you have anything that you would like to have a free webinar on, let the Octara people know, and then they can get in touch with me, and then we'll see what we can do. So until such time, I wish you all the best, and see you again. Inshallah.